Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarns, Tony G, It's a Me Ferrario, Stud Still Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon from Command List, Poppy the Masked Keaton, JC, Ozzy Garcia, Megan Caruso, Retro Overdrive, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, Soha, the Emperor, Storm Beagle, and Captain N from Retrotopia, Matt, aka Stormageddon, from Fun and Games and Reignite Podcasts, Van Fernal from Van Fernal's Retro Stream, Ryan, Keith Gasper from the Main Quest Podcast, Rick Firestone from Pixel Project Radio, Eric Guess from Unlockables, Ash Event, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alan Bingham from Saxbit, Alt, Low5 Alex from Low5 Gaming, B Ross from Super Garbage Day, Oh Me, Sega Boy 7, Jared Breland, Riskel, Adam R, and Super Dave from the Anime Field Guide. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated. Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to Retro Hangover. Welcome to the podcast where we bare breast bearing, bare breath baited, boring brochures. This is Retro Hangover. I am your host, Chris Copleen, with special guest, host of the Game Center CX Watch Parties and Game Over Hell, Lucas.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's nice to be back so soon.
It is good. It's good to have you back. We had you last time for Brave Fencer Musashi. You had to remind me of that. My age-riddled mind. You're also part of the next King of Games, which hopefully will be out soon. We were also talking about that before we came on here. But glad to have you back, Lucas. So happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's always great to. I mean, I guess it's only the second time, but yeah, it's always great to be here.
Mm-hmm. And if you couldn't tell, Shane is off today. Maybe this will, result in you immediately turning off the episode. But if not, stay tuned. We have a great episode for you today where we are talking about Breath of Fire 3, which was a patron selection nominated, coincidentally enough, by Lucas. So thank you for providing this game to us today, Lucas. Just got to ask before we get into this episode, since I kind of have an opportunity, what maybe this will come up later. So if it does, just stop me and don't say what inspired you to nominate this game.
I mean, I assumed that we're going to talk about personal experiences. That would probably fall into that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll save it for then. But what I'm not saving for then, now I'm going to put you on the clock, so to speak, or on the mic, is before we get into the game du jour, we like to talk about what games we have been playing lately. So, Lucas, what game have you been playing lately?
Well, there is one that I cannot talk about what the name is. I think so. I may have mentioned the name, but I'd rather not repeat it here, just because it's not officially out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a game that we're playing for a channel, which is it's like a review code kind of thing, or more
nice.
Like review code since it's not out. So that's that one, which has been a little. It's proving to be a bit of a challenge for me because it's not really a type of game that I usually play. So I'm struggling to get used to it, and I want to because I don't want to give an unfair impression based on just my lack of skills. So there's that. I also have been getting back to Tears of the Kingdom from time to time a little more often lately. Maybe it's just because it's a game that I go back to when I'm not feeling like playing anything too stressful. It's like my therapy in game form, so to speak. I already beaten the game twice, but I'm going around exploring and like getting pretty much everything, the Koroks, the caves, completing everything there is to complete the game, but I'm not really in a hurry to do it. It's more like I'll play this for some time, then I'll stop and go back to playing other things. And those other things would include Quake very slowly, and I guess Final Fantasy 14. That's another one I go back to very often, and I've been playing a little more often than usual lately, just because suddenly there was all these people who are also playing it, and we're playing together. Yeah, it's a game that some people think I hate, but that hate comes from a place of love, so I keep coming back to it. Yeah, those are the games I've been playing like lately. Though there are some that I should be playing and I'm not. But once I get the preview game out of the way, I'll probably get back to those that are supposed to be priorities.
Yeah, I can tell by the conversations that we have or especially the things that when you mentioned Final Fantasy 14, there's a love-hate relationship there. There definitely is. I couldn't tell. Like, I wouldn't say you hated it, but like I could tell like you almost discourage me from playing it whenever I think about starting to play it. You're like, but all these bad things happen.
I have to be transparent about it because it's a time commitment, and I'd rather not have someone join like starry-eyed, and then they will face all these barriers because it's a paid game. I mean, there is a free trial, but still, like, there's some limitations.
Of course. As for me, I have just been playing Final Fantasy IV, which we will be talking about on the show eventually, a little bit down the line. I'm trying to get very far ahead right now because I'm trying to set everything up so I can play Final Fantasy V for the 4-job Fiesta, which as of the date you are listening to this, it's the 4-job Fiesta has started. Doesn't mean I will have been playing Final Fantasy V by then. I want to complete Final Fantasy IV first, of course. I want to do that all on stream. And I am intending to play Final Fantasy V all on stream. So if you're listening to this and I have not completed Final Fantasy IV, go ahead and give our Twitch and YouTube channel a look. And you can find me maybe playing it there if I haven't. If not, it's because I've already completed it. But if I'm not playing that, I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy V. I would recommend going to Twitch just because of my setup right now. I can only really respond to people in chat that are on Twitch. Maybe not so much for Final Fantasy V. So if just follow YouTube or Twitch there. But that's the long and the short. I've been having a time. I don't want to say good or bad because that will kind of give some hints as to what I feel about Final Fantasy IV. I mean, that should be obvious anyway. If you're part of this community, you know exactly my thoughts and my feelings towards that game. I'll just say I cannot wait to talk about it. I am very much looking forward to that episode. One of those games that I don't want to say overdue, but definitely have been looking forward to talking about on the show. And now there's a prime opportunity because it's turning, holy shit, 35 years old this year. We are old people. This
35? Oh, that's right. It's weird because I haven't seen anything from Square like mention it, which is weird to me, or maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I don't think they will. 35 is a weird anniversary to really annotate. Maybe in 5 years they'll probably do something, but you know how Square's probably more focused on Dragon Quest's 40th anniversary this year.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's bigger for them.
Yeah. Oh, by far. Yeah, not even close, especially in Japan. But it's a quick opening there for what we've been playing, especially because Shane isn't here today. So let's move on to the brief history of Breath of Fire 3. Well, folks, we have another classic case of the we want to make a sequel, so we did School of Historical Innovation. Developed and published by Capcom, Breath of Fire 3 is, wait for it, the third entry in the series. Groundbreaking. We know. It also holds the prestigious title of being Capcom's first foray into the world of 3D graphics for the series, as they had moved on into the 32-bit generation with the PlayStation 1. Is this exciting? Not really. And that pretty much summarizes the game's development as far as we can tell. And since this is legally mandated to be a brief history, we aren't going to strain ourselves looking any harder into it. After some promotion via demo discs, courtesy of Resident Evil 2, Breath of Fire 3 finally escaped into the wild on September 11th, 1997 in Japan. North America eventually got its hands on it on May 18th, 1998, with Europe following at a leisurely pace on October 8th of the same year. Reception was generally positive, with an aggregate score of 74% from Game Rankings. Critics labeled it a highly traditional RPG, which is code for "we've seen this all before," and featured a soundtrack that seemed to offend almost everyone's sensibilities. Sales-wise, it managed to pull decent numbers, moving nearly 700,000 units worldwide, with 230,000 of those coming from North America alone. Apparently, Breath of Fire 3 was popular enough to warrant a PSP release in 2005, though only for Europe and Japan. Because, of course, why would anyone else want it? Well, I did. North America finally received that digital version via the PlayStation Network for the PSP and PlayStation Vita in 2016, just in time for everyone to have moved on to other things. And that is your brief history of Breath of Fire 3. All right, I did have some brief conversations with you offline, kind of about the brief history of Breath of Fire 3. That was very short. There's not a lot of information that I could find about the game on the internet out there. It seems that you have found a little bit more. What have you found about Breath of Fire 3 or anything of interest about the development of the game?
Well, there are some notes I made were more, I think they're tied more to other categories of the discussion, but as far as history goes, there really isn't much. Like I was really curious if there was anything regarding their decision to go with the kind of visuals they went with, because it's 3D, but it's still using sprites, something like that. But I couldn't find anything. The only thing I found out was that they started working on it immediately after the second game, and they were very excited about the PlayStation, because I think that's something that a lot of developers were saying back then, because many of these RPG developers, they came straight from the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom. And the leap in memory limitations was gigantic at the time, because you were going from, I can't remember what the biggest size for a Super Famicom was, but even if you compare to Nintendo 64, because that's the reason none of them supported the N64, is that I think the biggest card size for the 64 was 64 megabytes or something like that. It's megabit, I think. Mm-hmm. And then you have just 700, and yeah, I mean, it feels like there are no limitations as far as what they are used to. So there was a lot of excitement. Like they were talking about how they wouldn't have to worry about limiting themselves in regards to the scope of the game, the sound, the music, the visual spectacle they want to put on. Even though it seems a little, it's no Final Fantasy, but it's still, there's still some impressive stuff in there.
Yeah, there's some things I'm sure we're going to discuss about that when we get into the graphical and audio presentation. I mean, specifically there about the graphics. That's something that definitely needs to be mentioned because I think it's a little surprising, especially when you consider the N64 probably had the capability of doing what Breath of Fire was doing.
Visually, yeah.
Yeah, visually, because I mean, Ogre Battle 64 does exist, and that is a good-looking game. As much hate as I have for that game, its visuals are not the issue I have with it whatsoever. So it could have been done, but I think like that mentality of having 700 megabytes or 650 megabytes at the time versus however many megabits a cartridge could hold, and of course that memory becomes exponentially expensive. On the cartridge format, the more you get, and had been historically, as opposed to 10 cents for the pressing of a CD. I mean, that makes a big difference. Makes a huge difference.
I was also surprised by the numbers because I didn't look up the sales numbers, but I mean, I was surprised, but it shouldn't be after research on Chrono Trigger, because like there are these games that you hear so many fans say that it's their favorite in the series, it's their favorite in the genre. But when you look at the sales, like it's not that 240,000 is like their bad sales, but it's like if that's the total for the US, that means that over 500 of those might have been Japan. And if America sold less than 300,000, that speaks for the rest of the world, which is going to be much, much less. So it's shocking. I mean, it's still a bit shocking, even though it shouldn't be, to see those numbers of those like big classics, and you realize how little they sold in the grand scheme of things.
The thing is like that is actually a higher number than I thought it was going to be. But then I have to remember that Final Fantasy VII really busted the door open for RPGs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if I would have to take a look at see what Breath of Fire 1 and 2 did on the Super Nintendo. Something tells me it was a lot less than 230,000 in North America. So when I see an RPG, especially an RPG that's more traditional like Breath of Fire 3, that I don't remember having a ton of marketing behind. And again, I want to get more into another reason when I talk about graphical presentation as to why it may not have sold even more than that. I think 230,000 for a North American audience is impressive. I mean, this is 1998. So while, yeah, you did have games that were selling millions and millions of units, even from Capcom, because Resident Evil was killing it at this time. You know, you have the Final Fantasy series. A game that's selling 700,000 units is nothing to sneeze at. That's a decent amount. Like million sellers during the mid to late 90s were still a milestone for a lot of games. So getting up to the 700,000 mark, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's nothing to be ashamed of at all if you're Breath of Fire 3. And 230,000 units in the United States, that's actually, I think that's a good number. Not a great number. I think it's a good number, especially for a series that Capcom... I think this was Capcom's first time. Maybe they did it with Breath of Fire 2, but because I know Squaresoft published the game in North America for Breath of Fire 1.
Yeah, for
so
one,
this so maybe not for 2. So Capcom
was self-published. Yeah.
Okay. But Capcom also, they don't have a lot of RPGs. They were never really a major RPG company. So probably their marketing and how to target that demo wasn't really in their expertise. They probably didn't really care much about RPGs either. They were a fighting game company at this time. A fighting game in Resident Evil. Not much has changed, if we're being honest.
Well, now there's Monster Hunter.
Oh, yeah, Monster Hunter now. There's Monster Hunter now. So they got anime Souls-like, kind of. Someone's going to murder me for that.
I'm gonna keep it. I'm not going to comment on that right now, but yeah, sure.
I don't know. I've never played Monster Hunter. That could be way off base. It probably is.
There is some overlap, so say that.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm not completely embarrassing myself. Okay, so we did allude to some personal experiences earlier. I'll go first because it sounds like yours is going to be a little bit more in depth. You do have the honorary position right now of being the person who nominated this, so I'll definitely give you the floor here in a moment. But what are my personal experiences? I think I got this game right when it came out, or right around the time, if not at launch, shortly after launch. This was a game I was anticipating. I was just completely balls deep into RPGs at this time. Final Fantasy VII, as much as I didn't buy into the hype like a lot of other people did, I mean, I can look back and acknowledge that it definitely blew the doors off of the Japanese market and getting RPGs into our hands. And so this was part of that flood. This was part of that rush. This was part of that attraction. So I did pick it up pretty close after launch. I tried to get into it. I probably got distracted by another game. I didn't make it that far, especially when I would beat it later. I don't think I ever got to the midway point. I don't think I ever did. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think I did. Flash forward many years later, I did pick it up. I can't remember if I got it from a local store or if I got it from eBay. I can't remember. I remember getting a good deal on it. And as soon as I got it, I was very happy and I decided to play through it. I think there was a rapid fire review way back now. If you're a patron, you can find that. I'm not sure if it's there or not. I'm pretty sure I made one. If there is, it's at least 5 years old, if not older. So if there's a rapid fire review of Breath of Fire 3, yeah, go back and look at it because I gave my thoughts on it I distinctly remember playing Breath of Fire 4 when that came out for the PlayStation Network on the PlayStation 3. And I got that as soon as that came out, and I played through it. I'm like, man, this is a good game, but I think Breath of Fire 3 is better. And then I played through Breath of Fire 3, and I'll save my thoughts for later on that. But yeah, then I did beat it. Eventually, I did beat Breath of Fire 3, and then I beat it again for this episode. I've had a physical copy now for a while. It was one of those games I really wanted to get back in my collection, so I'm happy to have it again. But that's the extent of my own personal experience there. Lucas, what is your experience with Breath of Fire 3? Why is this a nomination of yours? Why are we talking about this today?
Well, from the top of my head, I think this one may have been the first RPG I ever played on the PlayStation, which is, yeah, like when I heard the brief history, I realized that this game came out later than I remember. But I think the problem is that we had Nintendo 64 before we had a PlayStation. And 98, 99 is a bit nebulous to me. So I guess I got some dates mixed up. But it was one of the first. I guess it wasn't the first I played, but it was the first one I committed to finishing. And I'm from Brazil, which means this was not exactly a legitimate copy of the game, because you couldn't, even if you wanted to buy an original PlayStation disc, you wouldn't be able to find it. And the pirate copies were everywhere, but the originals were pretty hard to find. And if you could, they would be very expensive. So my copy of the game actually didn't really let me beat it, because it would always freeze in the exact same spot, which I guess I can mention this. We're going to talk about the plot later, but so like when you enter the black ship, it was freezing and there was no way around it. So I couldn't even beat the game at the time. I beat it much later. But it left a strong impression from the start. Even though, like, I jumping from Final Fantasy VII to this, it feels weird. It felt weird. Because it's not a fully 3D game, but maybe it wasn't too difficult for me to get into it, because we were playing a lot of Super Nintendo games before this, like through emulation. We had a Super Nintendo game before this, but at this point, we didn't have it anymore. And I had experienced Breath of Fire 2, which me and my brother, we really enjoyed that game. I don't think I had beaten Breath of Fire 2 back then, but so I kind of expected just these sprites going into it. So it definitely felt like cheaper than the presentation of Final Fantasy, but it wasn't something that I wasn't actively hating what I was seeing. And yeah, even then, I loved the look of the game. And even the slow pace didn't bother me at the time. I think, I don't know, something about the style of the, just, I wasn't too conscious about it, like the music, the character design, all that stuff. Like, what about it was attracting me so much? I guess, damn, how do I get into this? Because there is one thing about this game which I already mentioned, which is probably something a little more unusual to talk about, which is what this game did to me as a person since. Because this is the game that, like, one thing about Breath of Fire, we're probably going to touch more on this later, because it's part of this, what the setting is. So this series is known for the setting, the consistent setting across the 4 games, I want to say. I'm not sure about the 5th one, where you have all these different races living. Like, it's high fantasy, sort of anime-ish, and you have humans, which are the more common race, but you also have a bunch of different what the game describes as clans. I mean, it's not described in the game, but the documents, official documents, you say they're called clans, which are the different races. The way they're designed is pretty varied. Like, you have races that are like the humans with like cat ears and some cat traits. You have the winged humans, which are really called something else. You have the monkeys. You have Armadillo Man. You have Fish Man. You have, like, what are they? Orcs, bulls, or something like that. The big guys with horns.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. Yeah,
I think this might have been from. I'm sure I played other games before this, but this is the first game where I saw, like, characters, like anthropomorphic animal characters, like in a way that wasn't super cartoony. yeah, something about something about it just made me sort of fall in love with the kind of design. So what I'm trying to say is that this game pretty much set my path into being a furry artist. Because it is a kind of design that it's not, even if you exclude the animal people, the character art in Breath of Fire, just the humans, I've always really liked the way they are drawn. Like not in game necessarily, but just the portraits and the artwork. It's anime, but it's a very distinct style. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it since. I think the closest you can see is just other Capcom games, and even then, when I look it up, it wasn't even the same artist.
So it's not the same artist. It's not the same artist as Vampire.
Yeah, I don't
or
think so.
Darkstalkers. It looks extraordinarily similar.
It looks, even if you look at like stuff like Mega Man Legends, there's some similarities sometimes, depending on the Ryu in Breath of Fire 5. It kind of looks like he could be the design of the face. I guess because it's all the most simple to the artist. There is something very like Mega Man Legends NPC-esque about the design. Not like in-game models, but just artwork, concept art, and that sort of stuff. It's very similar, but it's not the same artist either. I don't know if it's just something with artists trying to follow a certain Capcom style or what, but yeah, it's not a style I can imitate myself, but I've tried in the past. But yeah, specifically the animal, the furry characters, it's also pretty unique. Like you don't see anything like this in other games. You see some attempts to like follow the same idea. But I think Breath of Fire is a series that pretty much nails that style. Like they are just like, they have the right amount of cool to designs. They don't look too stupid. They don't look too scribbly. And they don't look creepy. Like when you have like say, I'm sorry to all those Scrolls fans, but the animal races, they're really creepy because they are super realistic.
Wait, what? So, the what fans?
Elder Scrolls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the animal races there, they look hyper realistic, so it's awkward. I don't know what other word to use. Like it doesn't have they don't look approachable. I'd say it's like the kind of charisma you can only get from going a little more cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it. I really like the designs. I think that's mainly the reason why I stick with the game, just the character designs themselves.
Okay. Yeah, it's great to hear that. Like, it was a great inspiration for your art style. I know that you do. I mean, you do art professionally professionally. You do it, and you do a lot of art inspired by Breath of Fire. You said furry art. It's not a niche. Like, that's actually, I think, bigger than people would know as outsiders. So that's a big deal, man. That's really big. And I would like, who is the artist for Breath of Fire 3? Let me look that up.
It's damn, I had the name. I know the second name is Yoshikawa. I forgot his first name.
Yoshinori Takanawa and Hironobu Takashita. Well, there's a couple artists. There's multiple artists. Okay, but Tetsuya Yoshikawa.
That's the one, yeah, because there's the lead character designer. Because if you look at artists
they've done.
Yeah, because if you look at artists and graphic designers, they're going to be a whole list. Just because of how a single person can't do all of that stuff by themselves.
Yeah, it's nothing I would think that they would be part of. Mega Man X is part of that.
The X, or do you mean like .exe?
X, like he was an illustrator for Mega Man X. But yeah, I would have swore to God if no one had told me anything that he was the illustrator for the Darkstalkers series.
I thought 100%. The same thing before I looked it up. Because there is some similarity. A lot of the late 90s Capcom games, they had similar art style with the artwork and character portraits and character selection and stuff.
100%.
There is one artist that I think is notorious from Capcom, that he worked on pretty much every fighting game, but he was not involved with Breath of Fire.
Okay. That might be why. Or even Pocket Fighter or anything like that. Yeah. Just not there. But I mean, yeah, very distinct. I mean, I wouldn't say, I guess distinct isn't the right word if I got confused with something else, but I do love the art style for this game too. But let's get into the story. Let's get into the plot here. It is in the manual. I do have a physical manual, but I'm going to read it out of a digital manual because I'm lazy and I don't want to grab it. Okay. What is in the manual? What is the plot for Breath of Fire 3? A new treasure is discovered. An ancient legend speaks of a powerful dragon clan, but no explanation exists why the clan vanished. The legend follows the clan's history, only up to the point where their inner power had reached a point where they had the power to destroy the world. The clan's presence can still be felt in everyday life, however. The remains of the dragon people appear in the form of chrism ore, a tremendously beneficial form of energy. Imagine the surprise of the miners when one day a dragon youth is discovered in the chrism ore mine. This new treasure, where did he come from and how did he survive inside the mine? The little dragon boy Ryu grows up as an outsider and gets into a lot of mischief. He befriends two renegades, Ray and Tipo, and all three live a life of thievery, living for the thrill. Rarely are they caught until one day a mysterious villager leads them right into the hands of the authorities. The boys are punished and separated. It is about this time that Ryu begins to examine his life and feels a burning desire in his heart to learn the history of his ancestors. He soon realizes that he cannot continue living a life of childish pranks and embarks on an epic quest to satisfy his need for ancestral knowledge. Early on his quest, he discovers a strange inner power that seems to protect him. Could this be the dragon power of which the ancient legend speaks? Playing as the hero Ryu, your journey will lead you down many paths to discover your ancestral heritage and to find out the answer to the burning questions. What is the power of the vanished dragon clan trying to teach you? Where will it guide you? And what will it force you to discover? And that is the plot according to the manual. And boy howdy, that's filling in a lot of gaps that aren't accurate. To say the least.
Just some wording that I thought was really strange.
Yeah, the wording is, he soon realizes he cannot continue to live a life of childish pranks. Yeah, there's a little bit more to that than him having this burning desire to find his ancestors. There's, in fact, a lot more to that. I wouldn't even say the burning desire to learn anything about his ancestors is really there per se, is more driven by another character, but yeah.
Also, calling the local mafia like the authorities is a strange choice for words.
Where's that? Calling it where's that?
Because it says a villager leads to them being sent to the authorities. But,
right, to the authorities.
Yeah, it gives the impression that the police went after them. And it's not really what happened.
No, not at all. Not the slightest. So since I got you here, Lucas, since we kind of covered that background really quick, and we're already kind of getting into it, what are your thoughts of Breath of Fire 3's plot and story? Oh, good. Here we go.
So first thing I want to say, like the first positive I have to say is that the first time I beat it, most of the chunk of the adult Ryu storyline, I've completely forgot about it. So replaying it made me realize it's okay. It's not as bad as I remember at all. Like there is some interesting stuff happening. It is a little okay. So Kid Ryu is the Kid Ryu stage, which is a pretty sizable chunk of the game. I don't want to say it's half the game. Maybe it's a little less.
Half. I would say it's half.
Okay, maybe it is because I kind of lost track of how long each part is, but people tend to criticize that it's directionless, and I don't know if I can disagree with that. Because it definitely feels like when you get to adult Ryu, it feels like you're going somewhere with the story. But even so, there is some criticism there that I think we both have. But I don't know. I think in terms of plot, I don't think I like this game very much compared to the other Breath of Fire games I play, which would be. I'm not gonna include 1 in this because 1 is super bare bones with the plot, but 2 and 4 definitely. Like 2, the story I remember being much better. I think it's considered the best one of the series. But 3, I think 3 you really faffing about like way too much. Like that, and if you want to exclude all the events that don't move the story forward, I'd say that the game of the 40 or so hours that you spend playing this, maybe 12 would be left if you cut all the filler. And that's the issue. Like, some of the filler exists there because there are a few themes in this game that it wants to reinforce. And they use some of that filler to make you think about it. That would be fine. It's just that some of the filler is so shamelessly just like, it's stuff like, okay, you have a goal to go from point A to point B to move the plot ahead. But along the way, there is some really half-assed excuse to stall the time, which is like, oh, we need to ride a boat to get here, but we can't because the boat is broken. And also there's like a lighthouse and it's fixing, but you go to fix the lighthouse, first you need to help this guy so that he can go fix the lighthouse. But even after you help him, you can't fix the lighthouse, so you have to go yourself. And even after you fix it, you realize, okay, it's not going to work anyway because we can't use the boat. So let's take the other road around to reach the place we need to go. And that's the worst part, but there's more stuff like that. Like having to make sushi for some mayor, and you have to get the sushi materials, or having to do some like scavenging in like a junk town before you can enter the beach to get something. I don't even remember what we were supposed to get in the beach, but
yeah,
it's little moments like that. Like the game sends you all over the place, and those things you do don't necessarily are directly tied to the plot. And yeah, it feels like it's just padding things so they can reach a certain quota of playtime. Sometimes that's what it feels like. And it's not the only RPG that does it, but I don't know, it just feels pretty shameless about it. No, my hardest, like, yeah, the adult Ryu, it's more focused. There is like a final stretch that is entirely focused on just moving the plot ahead, and that feels somewhat satisfying. But my hot take is that I actually, the moment, can we just get into spoilers because more detail in what happens?
Yeah, we're gonna. By the way, spoilers. Yes, there will be spoilers for Breath of Fire 3. I mean, or we'll spoiler adjacent. As normally I say that we don't spoil too much, but yes, if you don't want this game spoiled for you at all, just anticipate any plot talk to, you can just not listen to the next, I would say, just conservatively speaking, 20 to 30 minutes of this episode. Yeah, go ahead.
So the problem people have with Kiryu, like one of the complaints is that just you don't really know where the story is heading initially. Because at first, Ryu is hanging with Chipo and Rei because he's basically adopted little brother, and they are bandits. Like they live when they're not hunting things, because at the time we start the story, there's like a food shortage and stuff. They are stealing, and ultimately this leads into like the local mafia sending two guys to burn their house down, and everyone gets separated. And those two guys, Balu and Sander, which are like these twin unicorn. They are pretty much the present antagonist force through most of Kid Ryu's story arc. And people tend to complain about that because like it feels like you're constantly being caught and then running on this show, which is really what happens. And yeah, people tend to get annoyed about that because even though this is happening, the story is kind of almost in a standstill until you defeat them. But I actually think that the story suffers once you defeat them because I like having a present antagonist force. After they're gone, you don't have like a clear villain. Like you know that ultimately there's going to be one.
Yeah.
But you don't. So the problem is like the idea of not having like an antagonist that shows up all the time is fine by itself. It can be more original. It bothered me in this game because when I get to meet the big bad Miria, I don't really feel anything because I didn't hear or know enough about her to care. With Balu and Sander, the first time I played, I hated their guts. But beating them felt incredibly satisfying because I was finally free from that. Like they were horrible people, and they kept almost winning for like the first, let's say 10, 12 hours of the game.
Yeah. Which I think there's a point to, by the way. I think there's The game. When I get into my thoughts, I'll have my criticisms against it, but I do think that the game was trying to make a point with that.
Yeah, it's I missed that. It's like once, like, even the first time I played, like at first I was happy. Okay, finally, I'm not gonna see this shitheads anymore.
Yeah.
But as I continued the game and then got to the adult Rio thing, I started the adult Rio story. I started missing like a present antagonist force. The most you get. Also, there's that. Like the resolution to the mafia is really anticlimactic. It feels rushed. Like you beat the big bad of the mafia. I forgot what his name was.
Yeah, it didn't seem important.
Yeah, pretty much at the same time you find out who he is, you're already beating the crap out of him. So yeah, there are some positive aspects of the story. Like it's very focused on. I guess it's more focused on showing what the road is like, more so than just trying to establish more like clear antagonist characters. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a case of I prefer the other approach to telling stories like this. And it was a problem to me because in the final stretch, I was more concerned. I just wanted to see the ending because I don't really care for the person about to beat. Yeah, and the other thing is just even though it was directionless, I think I like that aspect of just living in the world as Kid Ryu. Because when you get to adult Ryu, even though you're discovering more areas in the road, it feels a little more like the game is trying to push you once you get going.
Yes.
It makes the road feel very. I guess technically it's supposed to feel small, but it feels much smaller. I don't have the time to get more familiar with the places. I care a lot more about the whole side of where the region between Windia and McNeil village than the rest of the road because of how much time I had to spend there.
So a lot of the complaints that you made, I would echo. I think that the first half of the game when you're Kid Ryu, it's not so much that I would call it directionless, because I always felt like you were being pushed in a direction for one reason or another. It was more that, what is the purpose of this? It was purposeless. It didn't feel like, I guess directionless is another, it's, a synonym to that, but it was, there's purposefulness. I don't know if that's a word. Purposeless. It didn't seem like there's any
Pointless.
need to do it. Like, it's what?
Pointless, maybe.
Pointless. Like, there was no purpose behind anything that you were doing. Like, no overarching purpose. It was just like you were just trying to survive as a child in a world that was openly hostile towards you. And it was just hostile because that's the way the world was. And I think like there's a point that they're trying to make there when you look at the overarching story. I'll get to that because I think that's a good part of the story. I didn't have your hesitation on not wanting to fight Miria or not and not fight, but engage Miria and get there and see what the purpose of this world was and to see why Miria did what she did. Because what Miria did essentially is she controlled Gar's clan. Gar's a character that is in your party, a half dragon man who's part of the Urlot clan, who wiped out the Brood. The Brood is the dragon clan. And it forced the Brood that you find out later. They're not extinct. They just gave up their powers and they went into hiding. So no, there's no more dragon people. But the people that were the dragon people still exist and they continue to survive. They just are no longer dragons because they gave up their powers so they wouldn't be hunted and killed anymore. What do you see in the first? What's that? Sorry,
because when you mentioned the Brood story, kind of reminded me of another problem is that the game takes like the way it exposes those plot points. It comes out at once towards the end instead of spreading more evenly, and that would have helped a lot with the just amount of filler if they spread the exposition a little more evenly throughout the game.
No, I agree. I think the pacing in the first half is awful. I think it is absolutely terrible. Kid Ryu's pacing is bad because every single time you feel like you're getting some sort of momentum, a Rapala appears. Rapala is like the black hole of momentum. Even when you're adult Ryu, by the way, Rapala is fucking repulsive. That's what it should be called. It is like It's dreadful. You're stuck there for hours, and I cannot connect what the point of spending so much time in Rapala is, even from like in my most generous trying to connect the dots between where the game ends up going and what the game has tried to tell you throughout. Rapala is just awful, and it continues to be awful. There's no point to it. There's also other characters that I think that they tried to make a point with at one point or another that just don't connect with me. Momo does not connect with me on any level. Momo is not a connectable character. I don't know why she's here.
Which is interesting.
I don't know.
Because the game forces you to use her a lot.
A lot, like all the time. And she's not an interesting, like she has an interesting backstory, but I just don't know how it connects to the wider world. Maybe I'm missing something. Kind of same with Nina. I think a lot of the background they give with Nina, they just spend a little too much time with. And then you have a character like Tipo who adopted Ryu, like took him on and has a lot of parallels with the way that he sees the world with Ryu. And it's just kind of written off. Like they kind of get into it, but they just kind of write it off. It's like it's one or two lines where he's like, yeah, me and you have a lot of similarities because he can turn into a were-tiger. And that gives him a ton of power and makes him and makes him uncontrollable. Like Ryu can turn into a dragon. And he's like, if I can do that, why can you do that? I'm trying to find the answer to that. And that's the end of the conversation. That's it. So
yeah, there's some plot points where the game doesn't really like it. It says it's going to get more into it and doesn't. Like Tipo is a big disappointment for me because did
I say Ray? Did I say Tipo? I meant Ray, by the way.
No,
I hope I said Ray. Okay.
Yeah, but going to Tipo, just that you get the tease that there's going to be something big evolving in very early on. Like you can really tell that the sprite that shows up is Tipo. But when you finally reunited with him, I don't know, I felt like it was a bunch of nothing because like it's just gone, and then I'm supposed to be like have my mind blown that he's siding with Miria and he's trying to convince me to side with her as well. But it's honestly, Breath of Fire 4 fixes this. Fulu is a much better realized people in a way, in that sense of like having an equal that wants to talk you out of being in the side of the heroes. I wish they had done more. Like when I mentioned that there could have been a present antagonist force, honestly, it could have been Tipo, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the thing with Ray is just that you get told by Ray directly, like, okay, I have this power. I don't know why I have this power, but we join you on this journey to find out. And you don't find out because you know about the Brood, but doesn't touch on why does Mikba, that's the name of the mafia boss. Why does Mikba has the power to turn into a gigantic demon? Why do Balio and Sunder have powers? Why is this mafia abusing their own powers? And like if Miria's point was to protect humanity, why is she the one giving powers? Why is she giving powers to horrible people? Like none of this is explained.
Well, I think that's kind of what the game is trying to say. Maybe it's a localization issue that could always be a possibility. But this is something that this kind of bridges into what I do like about the story. By the way, I think the Tipo thing is fine. The thing is that you don't see Tipo for like 30 hours, 35 hours. And by the time you see him again, it's like, wait, what? That was a long time ago. I've had to like carry Momo in my party about her talking about her dad for the 50th time, who I don't really care about.
Yeah, like Tipo as a character, like what he does is fine. It's just that it's too brief. Is a problem.
It's the pacing. It's the pacing that's bad. And I really think the second half definitely improves on that. But in terms of the questions you kind of relayed, I think that is part of the reason that exposes Miria as the villain that she is because you have her and her sister. It's kind of like a yin and yang kind of element here because you have Miria and you have Deus. I don't know if it's Deus or Deus, however you want to pronounce it. And they have a different mentality about how the world should be approached. Miria is one that she doesn't trust that humanity can do anything on their own or else it'll result in in destruction of the world. So she's trying to do whatever she can to preserve whatever of the world that she can. Whereas Deus is a complete lover of humanity, or at least doubts her sister's intentions. And of course, Deus is the right one because she is the one that sides with your party in order to get you where you need to go. And she stops the Urlak tribe, and the Urlak tribe has to essentially imprison her for hundreds of years in order to get her to shut up from telling them that their god is wrong, because everyone views these as gods. As you find out, they are not gods per se. They have godly powers and godly influences, but they're not gods. In fact, one of the lines at the end of the game is when Miria is dying, she says, "If there is a god, answer me." So they know they're not gods. And there's some very deep levels to what I think the game is trying to say. If you really want to get down to it on a philosophical debate point, I think there's plenty of room to have that conversation. And that's what I love about the game. And it is really ruined by its pacing in the first half. But I think when you look at the totality of it, Miria is trying to explain to Ryu why should she continue to be in charge of the world, because if she is not in charge of the world, then mankind will destroy itself. Because you go to this world that existed before, this futuristic world where all this tech was. It's all covered in sand and everything's a desert and it's all terrible. And you come to find out that's an allegory for they had nuclear war. That's essentially what happened. And she's trying to prevent another nuclear war from happening. And by doing that, she eradicated the brood because she thought that the brood would trigger another nuclear war. More or less, that's the allegory that's going on here. But she's trying to tell Ryu that if it's not for her, that like humanity won't survive. But at the same point, you saw the world as it was, and you realize that there are terrible people in the world still, no matter what you do, even with her protection. And they continue to do terrible things to innocent people, and she did nothing about it. So you're essentially given the choice. If you really reflect back on it, you're like, you're not really doing shit. This is just a vanity project for you. This is just you trying to feel good about yourself and telling people what they should and shouldn't do. And as long as you can tell everybody how good you are because you're preserving this little section of the world, as long as it continues to exist, you can say, well, at least it's not a victim of nuclear war. I'm such a good person. I'm such a good god. I'm such a good goddess. I'm so benevolent. But the reality is that the world you're ruling over is still utter crap. And Ryu, and what you get in the lead up to it, I think it's not that well performed. But if you look at it and you see what they're trying to say, it makes its points, where there's an individualistic aspect that, like, everyone's coming together as a team, but they're all doing it for individual reasons. And ultimately finding yourself, your own self, and finding your sense of identity is more important than just trying to hold a world together for the sake of trying to hold a world together because it makes you feel good about things. Because you know that scene where Ryu's going into his dreams and you go through each character's individual motives, and it's trying to show them as an individual. At the end of the day, still have to come together as a team, but it's all about what they're trying to accomplish individually. And at the end of the game, it's still asking Ryu the question, do you want this world where you can take a risk and maybe the entire world would become a desert again? Or do you want it ruled by somebody just so you can all kind of exist in this world that isn't blowing each other up, isn't in constant warfare, but it's still a terrible place to be. And you can thrive as an individual. So there are layers to it. And that's what I really liked about the second half, is I really think they drove those points home, especially when you can look at the first half. And it kind of conveys those ideas where you have Ryu and Tipo and Rei. They're outsiders. They think they just want to do good, but their perception of what is good and how it conveys on the villagers is received radically different when they go after the Chimera, and they find out the Chimera is just trying to protect its young, and they feel horrible about what they did, and they find out that they're celebrated as heroes for that. So sometimes you got to do bad things in order to do the right thing or feel bad about the things you do. And then you go after the mayor and they're like, we feel really good about this. And it turns out to be a disastrous consequence, a disastrous choice. And because they were just chasing fame and they were trying to do the right thing, and that actually caused more pain. I think those divergences at the beginning are a great point they're trying to make throughout the game. It's just there's all these momentum stoppers that stop it from being a truly great story. It's a 25-hour story told in a 45-hour game.
There is, what you mentioned, the camera story. There was something I wanted to mention. That's something I like about the writing of this game. It's just that there are, I want to say, 2 or 3 recurring themes that the game brings up. And one which I don't see mentioned when I tried looking up online why people love this game so much. And yeah, it's usually it has to do with the right. Like, people like that there is no, like this idea that there isn't really an antagonist, like a central antagonist in the game, even though technically Miria is, but it's not really presented in a way that's in a traditional like JRPG villain sort of sense. And they like the theme, which usually the theme I see people mention is the theme of having a power and having to choose how you choose to use the power you were born with. In this case, I guess it would be the Brood or even Miria herself. And sure, there is that. Like, I think the reason I got so hung up on the lack of explanation for why certain individuals have superpowers is because of the idea that it's going to be a theme. Like, I wish it would ponder more on that. Like, I wish the writing would ponder more on that beyond the Brood. Yeah. Because I think I care too much about the lore in games.
None of your party members are human.
Yeah. I mean, human, I guess it's like in a broader sense, when in the sense that these games tend to refer to humanity as like every sentient being there.
Sure. But I think like there are humans. I think that's a point that the game is trying to make too. I think there's a point there. I had it more formulated, a while back. But like none of the characters in your party are humans. The closest is Nina. Well, she's Momo. Not a human. Momo's not a human.
I mean,
she's like a cat person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's human in a way, just to generalize sort of way. Like, it's if they walk into legs, they live like humans. More in the sense. Yeah, the other thing I think is probably the one I think the game explores a little better is just making sacrifices for sake of your own survival or survival of people you care about, because the game puts a spotlight on this pretty often. The first time you see it is with the Chimera. Like, okay, Ray even gets angry about it for a moment, which is the fact that they weren't told that the Nua had children and was just trying to feed them. I guess it softens the blow a little bit that you find out that they were already dead by the time you kill the Nua. But yeah, you had to kill a creature that was just trying to keep their children alive. But if you didn't do that, a whole village would probably be starving. And there's a moment very similar to this towards the end when you go to the desert. And that I think that one hit pretty hard at the time, because like it came out of nowhere to me. Like when I realized that was what I had to do, it came as a shock. Like, you have this, what was the animal again? Was it the sheep? Where was it?
It was kind of like a cow or kind of like a mule or a camel equivalent. I forgot what the exact name before it was, but yeah.
Cow for something like that. And you were using it because you sort of needed it to help you cross the desert. But at some point, Nina gets sick. Turns out the meat from that animal is needed to cure her illness. So you had to kill the animal. And it's not even yours. It belonged to the guy that taught you how to cross the desert. And yeah, there's something that I don't even remember how you would come to the conclusion to have to hit it, but you just do it. Like, you use Ryu's ability to just cut and kill the thing, and you use its meat. Like that sort of thing. I don't remember which other moments that happens, but like there are certain parts of the story where you have to kill. You notice that you have to do some violent acts to move forward, and the game doesn't try to make it seem cute or anything. That to me, I think, was the most powerful thing in the game, because I guess it does emphasize the idea that there's still terrible things happening in this world, and there's probably never going to be, that's not something they can fully get rid of, even with the way Miria tries to shape the world to be a little more peaceful. Like, it's not really peaceful, and also depends on who you are.
Yeah. Like she was willing to completely genocide an entire race of beings because she was afraid it would wipe out everything. And then you come to realization that was like there wasn't a lot of foundation for that to be true. It was just completely out of fear. It wasn't doing a violent act to actually benefit the world. It was doing a violent act to almost self-aggrandize yourself and to self-validate yourself. Which is what you see with the mayor's story at the beginning of the game.
And in the brew, they let go of the powers, like, for sake of the rest of the world. Like, they willingly do that. Like, it's not really killing anyone by doing that, but it's another form of self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some really interesting themes, just that they just couldn't find a way to follow through then a little more closely without faffing around for sake of the gameplay.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a combination of just the pacing being bad, a focus on maybe areas that they probably shouldn't have spent as much time as they did, like Rapala. There's some jarring shifts in tone, I think, because of it. However they were making this game, I think they started to realize we're not really getting our point across in an efficient way as possible. So we kind of have to move this along at this point and try to, move the player along. Or maybe it's just they didn't know really how to tell a story. That's also possible. Maybe these aren't the best writers. They might have great ideas and they might have a great way, they might be asking great questions of us. But that doesn't mean they're great writers, because as soon as you kill Bander and Sunder, I think their names are.
Balio and Sunder, yeah.
It goes from, okay, you just try to survive. You're looking for your friends. You really just want a carefree life. Let's go find God. It's like, wait, what? Like, that's like, that was immediately just, and it's not even like you as a character being propositioned as it being interesting to you. It's another character's drive. It's not like your drive. It's them seeking answers.
It's like stories for two different games, but in the same game.
Yes.
When looking at the interviews, because I didn't write this down, but there is some explanation for why the pacing is an issue. Like, the way they describe how they work on the game, like those ideas are not things they established before they start working on it. They started putting things in terms of scenario planning like as they went along. Mm-hmm. So there was not enough pre-planning to make sure that the pacing would be better. That's probably why you do so much stuff that feels a little random just for sake of being able to pass from point A to point B.
I do feel, though, overall, I think that by the end of the game, the plot really landed with me. I think I got the game's themes. I like what it was asking. I like the perception of the world it was creating. And I do like the fact that I don't think Miria is really portrayed as evil. I didn't never see her as evil. It was just a force that needed to be removed for the benefit of the many. And there was a risk. It's not even like there was no risk in making that decision. I do think it was cool that your little onion thing that speaks in baby talk the entire game is an actual god. not like the people that you're fighting. He's the tree of life, and he has had enough of her and is pretty much like, you need to leave the humans alone, which is actually a pretty common theme in a lot of Japanese games and media during this time. Lunar did it too, in a way. But it's like, do you put the faith in the world in humanity, or do you put the faith of the world in an overarching, centrally controlled God? But overall, I like where it went. I like the direction. I like the questions it asked. I like that even at the finale, there's no real finale. I think at the end of it, I know there's probably people that don't. I think it did get there. I just don't like all of the way it got there. All said and done.
But I don't know. I'm not sure if I like the ending that I was asked to comply with, because I lost Gar, man. Is a role without Gar really worth living? I don't think so. I need those giant biceps on screen all the time.
I am with you. I understand, but I think it was like that was a theme for Gar too. Like it was his time.
No, I mean
he was coming.
It was foreshadowed, but
yeah, he was coming to terms that he should have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah,
that his place in the world was no longer necessary. That was. And you can make the argument that really Gar is the main character of this game.
I mean, he's the closest one tied to the central plot regarding the Miria and the Brood. I mean, because Ryu doesn't talk, so.
No. It's really Gar's journey. Gar's journey of discovery. You're just along for the ride. That's almost how it is for me. And I'm not complaining.
Now you mentioned that, there's some strong parallel with Xenoblade 2's plot because of that, but I can't get into detail because you haven't played it. But
I have not played it, unfortunately. I haven't played a lot of games. I feel so terrible. Anyway, anything else you want to say about the plot before we move on to the gameplay?
No, nothing. I mean, I could make some more stupid comments like, I wish the game first got rid of took the unicorn booties away from me, and then they didn't take away Gar. I'm pretty upset, so that's why I'm not happy with it.
Don't be upset they took them away. Be happy they gave them to you to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than I can say about a lot of other RPGs.
All right, let's get into the gameplay. What kind of game is Breath of Fire 3? It is a traditional turn-based JRPG. It is given to you in a 3D isometric perspective. You roam around the world. You have a world map, so it's not like Final Fantasy where you have an overworld where you move between, you get random battles. In fact, random battles are almost completely optional unless you're in a dungeon type environment, and then they are not optional, of course. And like I said, turn-based battles. You have a cross grid, and you have magic, attack, defense, all sorts of things. You equip, you go into towns, you talk to people. This is traditional as fuck. So I will start out with the gameplay here. I think I kind of already gave in my synopsis how I think it's good. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, I like the fact that if you have a character that's faster than other ones, you get an extra turn. Other than that, like there's not really much for me to say. The master system is fine. I don't like the skill system. I think the skill system sucks. I think it's completely unnecessary. You don't always learn skills from enemies. And by the way, I didn't know there was a cap on how many skills you could even learn. It kept me from learning skills from masters. I thought that was stupid.
Wait,
I don't like that.
I mean, the cap in the menu, like you cannot have 8 at a time?
Yeah. Once you learn so many skills, if it's filled, you can't, if you're on the docket to learn another skill from a master, which you learn after being under a master for so many levels. And by the way, what are masters? People that you can find in the world that will give specific boosts and at the trade-off for maybe some other abilities not growing as fast when you level up. So and they also have skills after so many levels that you get. If you have so many skills that you learn throughout the game, you cannot learn any more if you have through like your menu. If it's filled up, you can't learn any more skills. So if you've hit that level requirement for a master and you go and talk to them and your menu is full of skills, you won't be able to learn it. And it's terrible. And the other thing is that also goes if you're trying to learn skills from an enemy, which you can do, you can observe them, but that's stupid. Because you don't always learn them. It's completely random. It's terrible.
Supposedly, I didn't like that. There's some stat that affects that. I don't remember which one it is, but basically the higher your level, the higher the chance. But even so, it's not guaranteed. Like you could be examining, like watching for like the same skill happening 5, 6, sometimes 10 times. I've had some really bad luck with some of them, and you're still not going to learn. And there are some where the conditions are pretty crazy. Like you have to this enemy needs to be near death, but he has a tendency to, when it's doing that, it might put everyone to sleep or something like that, some really annoying attack to deal with. And you have to meet that requirement, and you still might not learn it like 10 attempts, depending on your luck. That's pretty annoying.
I didn't even bother. After I tried learning in the first area, I didn't even bother. And then I came to the realization later that if it's a skill that you can transfer between characters with skill ink, you can only learn it once, and then you just have to transfer it and put it on the character you want to.
Yeah.
If they learn it naturally, it's different, but not if you have a skill ink.
I think there are duplicates with master skills as well, I think, because I think someone had to... I'm not sure if I'm mistaken, if it's just really the natural skills, but I didn't really bother learning all of them. I considered it at first, but then I realized how much work some of them was. To even like get the enemy to use them, I gave up. And also because I learned some skills, I realized that you got these, you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to be a little more fair, like the point of the skill system, because this is something I thought more about when doing the research, is that the point of the skill system is really to add some replayability. Like there are some skills that are obviously very meta. Like I had Gar learn super combo plus 2 skills that buff his attack, so he could use the skills and then use super combo and would pretty much destroy any boss. It would do over 2,000 hits and damage. So why do anything else? But if you want to replay the game and use different builds, the skills help with that. But the problem I have too is that there are 100 and something skills to learn, but the majority of them are useless. Some of them are pretty much useless. Like there's one where you swing your the attack swing that doesn't do anything. There are some that are very situational and not worth wasting a turn for. So I didn't feel, when I realized that, that's when I realized that, and also, but the other reason I didn't finish learning all skills is just that what was I going to use them for? This game has 0 side optional bosses to do, optional dungeons. It's really linear in that sense. Like the only optional content you have other than fishing is the master system. And I think I got all masters in the end, but not all skills. And I don't think it's worth it unless you're really into it and want to do something different for your party and change things up just for sake of changing.
Yeah. Well, also a lot of the dungeons you get trapped in for a while anyway, because a lot of these dungeons are longer. I don't mind longer dungeons. I'm fine with that. But if you're trying to take advantage of this game's master system, like getting out of there is usually a bit of a hassle. That's a nitpick. I'll even concede that is just me nitpicking here. What I don't think is necessarily a nitpick is your characters. And I just want to emphasize, first and foremost, generally speaking, I do like this game's gameplay. I like the battle system. I like navigating around the map. I don't necessarily like the isometric perspective. I can get used to it, though. I got used to it. I became fine with it. It wasn't the worst. I do think that the way they hid items on some of the maps were innovative, that you had to adjust your camera in order to find them. I thought that was pretty cool. And we'll get to the mini games in a second. I think they're awful. But when it came to your character makeup, not all, they were definitely not created equal. Nina is worthless. Nina sucks. There is no reason for Nina to ever be in your party ever. I hated her. She was like, I could not get her out of my party fast enough. Even your onion character. What's his name?
Why am I drawing a blank? I know this characters.
Yeah, I know these characters too. I don't know why I can't remember. Peko. He's great. Like, Peko's great. You just got to get him with the right master. And the best thing about him is he starts at level 1. So he's completely moldable to whatever you want him to be. You just got to get him with the right guy. Makes sense, which is the guy in the Coliseum town. Just strap him to him and you're gone. But what you find out, Momo is fine. Momo is fine, but there's no reason to have her in your party other than when the game makes you have her in your party. Because you'd rather have Rei. The ideal party is Ryu, Rei, and either Gar and Pekko. That's assuming you build Pekko right. So, and then you have to think about agility. Agility is king in this game, unsurprisingly, that you get with a lot of turn-based games. If you have a character with high agility, you get that extra turn every single time, and that completely makes it so you dominate the battlefield. And that becomes even more important when you start getting into dragon transformations against bosses, because that's probably the only time you're going to be transforming into a dragon, because that extra turn means that's one more turn where you're not getting your MP drained. Agility is just, it breaks the game entirely wide open. And then at that point, you're like, why am I not just having Rei and Ryu in my party at all times? It doesn't make sense to have it any other way. And then just focusing on other characters. Like, and it's possible. I've seen people bitch that Gar is too slow. You can make Gar not slow. It's not hard to make Gar not slow. You have to commit to it, though.
The game does give you, like, at some point, it starts becoming relatively easy to get certain stat enhancers, like enhancers, like the one that increases agility, which I pretty much every single one of them that I got, I gave to Gar because I didn't want to make him leave the party. He has some, I think his biggest flaw is that he's good for attacking, like physical attack. His magic kind of sucks. He learns a bunch of fire magic.
Kind of sucks?
I mean, the last ones can be useful.
Okay.
The one that hits everything.
Okay.
But for the most part, it takes a while for him to get there. And he learns all these fire spells, but his intelligence stat doesn't really, it's pretty bad without enhancing the crap out of him. So people usually don't recommend him, but like I'm using him as an example because he's the one I chose. But you can take, for example, I want to dare and say Nina and try to make her more useful by boosting her intelligence more or something. Magic in this game is a bit weird. Like sometimes it can be useful, but I think for a single target specifically, at some point it falls behind physical attacks. I think it's something about how the stats scale with the magic damage. I don't think it affects it as much as like physical skills, which is it's a balance issue, I think. Momo, I hate having her in my party because for a lot of normal encounters, I like to spam attack, but she has the worst accuracy in the party. Yeah. Once I was done with most masters, I had her with that like rogue master woman that you find at the top of the cafe.
Yeah, it's just so you can hit something.
She enhances accuracy. And that's the only way I could justify like having Momo in the party at all. There are times there are many times where you're forced, like you said. I don't know why the game loves her so much, especially when you're playing as adult Ryu.
Because they probably knew if they didn't do that, you wouldn't put her in your party ever.
Maybe. But the problem is that her field skills it's not even skills because it's something you don't really use her bazooka that much. It's just that, there is ancient technology here. Who understands technology? Oh, Momo. But why require you to change the party setup when you can easily just have her show up outside the party and interact things? Because we have characters do that all the time in the game. Like they are not in your party, but they show up. That's so unnecessary and just forces you to backtrack to change parties. That's I think my number one complaint with the gameplay. But I agree with you mostly because the combat itself I enjoy it. I wish things didn't take forever in terms of loading. Everything is slow. The animations are slower than it should be. The battle takes a little bit too much, too long to load, considering it's in the same screen. Like you don't have a transition to like a battle screen. It's the same. It's in the field, the same map you're at.
See, this is where I have to interject here and have a little bit of a disagreement on that with the slowness of it, because in games that like a Final Fantasy coming out around the same time, if you go from the random battle starting to the battle and then being able to select the battle command, Breath of Fire 3 is faster. It just is.
I mean, yeah.
It's just there's more spectacle on the 3D games doing it.
I think the reason speed was bothering me is just because I come from playing 4 and 2, and they are definitely faster. Like
Oh, sure.
I guess you're right. Like with Final Fantasy, they make a whole show of entering battle, especially 8 and 9, and especially 9 is my favorite. But good lord,
So slow. Oh my god.
everything is a fireworks show in that game. But it's just that I think the thing that bothers me the most is just that the time between choosing all commands and the character starting the animation, I wish it was a bit faster, especially compared to Breath of Fire 2. Like the game is really snappy with a battle, and I remember 4 not taking too long as well. But the thing is, with the loading times for the battles, they used to be worse during development, because it's something that like they did what they could, because the struggle was the CD loading times. There was something in the something about the coding of it that they couldn't do much about because of the loading times. When doing the lack of a screen transition was actually may have been a problem, and that's probably why they reversed that decision before. So which would explain why it still has a bit of a loading going on.
Do you think that was the same problem that they got into the Chrono Trigger port? Because that's something that really bogs down the PlayStation version of Chrono Trigger, is how slow that game is. And that has a similar concept.
I knew about the loading times for just getting anywhere or the FMV starting and ending. I didn't know about the battle because I didn't play the game myself.
Okay.
But if there's loading for when you start battles, that would completely ruin the pace of the game for me, because just how quick everything is in Chrono Trigger is part of the appeal of it.
Yeah, it's a big problem in Chrono Trigger for the PlayStation, is that you get into a battle and it has more loading time, because everything in Chrono Trigger, like, you fight on the screen you get into the battle with, just like Breath of Fire, very similar.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if it's just a case of you see the loading. The loading is more visible in Breath of Fire 3 because there is nothing happening. Like you trigger the battle and it's just the characters preparing. But in Final Fantasy, there is in most games, let's say, there is some kind of screen effect happening. That might be masking how long it is by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But the mini games, I didn't hate them.
Let's get into those.
Okay.
Let's get into the mini games. Let's get into the diversions of Breath of Fire 3. How much fun did you have with those?
I guess it was a bit hit or miss for me. Like I really like the fishing, but I think Breath of Fire, even like 2, I don't remember 4 very well, but I think it's a series that has always done fishing well.
Yeah.
It might be a Capcom thing, because I remember enjoying the fishing in the portable Zeldas as well. But some of the other mini games, they're kind of like, I didn't hate them, but I didn't think they added. They weren't necessarily fun either. I don't know, like the Junkyard one. The first time I remember playing it as a kid and raging at it, but I think I was just dumb, because when I played it again, it was super simple, and I didn't hate my time with it. Let's remember the others, because I know there are plenty of those. And
Moving Through the Desert.
Okay, no, that one's that was tedious.
Training Bade.
Okay. Guilty pleasure, I want to say, because I know
navigating your boat to go find the legendary mariner.
I think it's okay. It wasn't fun, but because it took me a couple tries.
It took me a couple tries too, because I was trying to get like the items, but still, like, I don't like how the boat controls in this game.
Yeah, it should be simple, because in my head, okay, it's just like it's the usual turning, like with the directional pad and then pressing forward. But sometimes it feels like the controls sort of I don't know how to explain it. Like it doesn't. There are points depending on how you turn around that it doesn't seem to be responding to the forward and back the way it's supposed. Yeah, but like I didn't have enough time to hate it because it was so quick as well. And with Beat, I just wasted hours trying to make him overpowered for absolutely no reason, just because I want to see how far I could push it.
Okay, I'll agree it's a guilty pleasure. It sucks, I think the worst part about that is that it brings the game to a standstill.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about that.
It feels disconnected from everything. Even the other feels a little more connected with what's going on.
Yeah. And you just stay in Rapala for too long. And then you become a teenager, and then you spend time in Rapala for too long.
Yeah, a little less, but still.
I like the ferry. I do like the ferry building, the ferry town building. I like that.
About that. I forgot about it because there is no the passage of time there is a little broken in a bad way, in my opinion. Because maybe I'm doing something wrong. Because it felt like it was taking too long to develop sometimes. Like I
agree with that.
I was almost done with the game, and I still don't think I reached the full potential. There was still land to flatten and build more, and I couldn't do it. And I'm the kind of person who wastes a lot of time grinding levels, because I did. I made everyone like beyond level 60 before the final battle, completely unnecessarily, and even so, it wasn't enough for the fairies. So I don't know how someone is supposed to really max the fairy village.
So what we can say almost confidently is that if you don't have to do it, well, you do have to do the fishing game at one point. For the most part, you don't have to do fishing, and you don't have to do the fairy village. Then the side games are okay. If you do have to do it, the side missions are mostly bad.
But something that is beyond just the usual walk around and battle, I think it was done well, are the puzzles. Because I think the puzzles, like, they are more frequent as adult Ryu, but it's something that I completely forgot about before replaying it for this. The dungeons, at first, it feels like there's just going to be the usual, here's a bunch of hallways with some dead ends and random encounters. But at some point, they start cramming puzzles in every dungeon. And I think it does help set them apart. Sometimes they can get tedious, like because they force some backtracking if you mess things up, like the lighthouse. Which I think is the worst example. I think that one's a little too much.
Yeah.
But I like that they all have some distinct way to progress in Final puzzles. And I think that's something I think the game does well.
Unless they're timing based.
What's one? Because I'm trying to remember which one did that. Like, can you remember
one of the power reactors? Something with the vegetables or something. Just trying to grow it. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember that for some reason.
It's when you have to use like the fire chrism to order to power it up, and then you have to have the timing exactly. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, stop it.
Oh yeah. That was a little annoying. The ones towards the end, I think I really like them, especially when you get to the beyond the desert.
Yeah, once you make it past the desert, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. Like that's the best part of the game, is once you make it past the desert.
But speaking of that, like the final dungeon, I lost my mind because I do appreciate the game tries to do more with dungeons than just be very simple point A to point B hallway simulator. But I think they really overdid the final dungeon. It takes forever. Like, you have to go all over the place with it. Like, you change characters frequently, which I guess is the point. Like, okay, here's the final dungeon. We want you to use everybody.
Yeah.
I should be more accepting of that. But it was just taking so long that I just want to be done with the game.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with the final dungeon. I actually like the final dungeon. Like, things became recognizable. It kind of had this vibe to it that you get in some Falcom games, specifically East, where like the Darm Tower or the last area of East 2, like those are like a third of the game. So it's a big dungeon. It's a very important part of the game. I do like that. However, it can be intimidating. And because the game at that point, you're there like 39 hours, and it's just like, okay, are we done, or am I gonna get more crap?
It may have been the fatigue, because when I think back on it, like design wise, it's nice. Like, it's the setting around the dungeon is pretty nice.
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic, because you're in this very technologically advanced area, and you're trying to figure out why is everything the way it is.
There's some visual storytelling going on with it.
Yes,
the game doesn't
very much
go
so.
in too much detail about that specific place, even though you get to hear the full story later. But It's a kind of visual storytelling that you don't see. Not that the game doesn't have that before, but it's a lot more present there. It stands out from the rest, and it makes the final dungeon more memorable. But I guess I was just tired, and I wanted to finish it. And on that note, we may have played the game wrong according to the developers. When I was reading about the comments regarding the messages they want to give to players. So the game, according to them, was designed to be played in short bursts. If you focus too much on just playing the game, just this game, to reach the ending as soon as you can, they say that it can get boring, and that's true. It does. But because that's just how I play RPGs. I guess maybe all this time I wasn't too aware of how Japanese expect these games to be played or something.
That's a self-report, honestly. What?
It explains some things, because it does explain why there's so much filler.
Yeah.
And it explains the camping system. Because they say that the camping feature exists to remind you of where you're supposed to go next. Like to be a frequent reminder.
Actually, I love the camping. It makes inns pointless. But I do love the camping.
Well, you still need to use the games to fully recover, because if you die and revive,
if you die. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like if I die, I just reset the game. Okay, that's something we didn't talk about. I did not like that. I do like the game's challenge. I think the game's challenge are very balanced for the most part. Up until you get to the later part of the game, and then if you know how to build your characters, it becomes simple and very secondary. But you have to know how to exploit the game systems in order to do that. So yeah, you put in the work. I can't complain about it being simple when I was trying to exploit it. I accomplished it. But if a character dies, why is their maximum HP go lower? Because there may not be an opportunity to fix that for a while. I don't like that design decision.
I'm a sicko. I like that sort of stuff. I like that the game's really trying to punish you for dying. Like, don't die. It's just a game telling you that. If you do, I mean, you have a chance to continue, and you do. But it's like a weakening stat thing that I like when games do that.
Okay.
And it's also a way to, yeah, sure, you can camp for free, but we want you to use the inns. So if you want to fully restore it, you're going to have to get to a town and pay. I mean, the payment is whatever, but.
Yeah, I guess it also increases the urgency to revive a character in battle, because if you revive them in battle and they survive, you don't take the penalty.
Oh yeah, I never noticed that. But yeah. But it's just that I like when games are really trying to, I mean, some cases, because it's a case-by-case thing, but for RPGs, I like that they really wanted to not want to let anyone die at all costs. Yeah. It's not really, because like I remember some battles in Final Fantasy games where your party is constantly dying with someone surviving. It feels a little consequential sometimes. Not the case here if you're not careful.
Yes.
That's the aspect I do like. So I don't think it really bothered me. Those types of punishments is something I appreciate, just for in a sequel kind of way.
All right, are we ready to move on to the presentation?
Well, there's some just developer notes in the gameplay, which is, I don't know if it explains anything in particular, but they intentionally avoided trying to add things that they see other games, even if they're successful. To add into the design of this game. So I guess the biggest success at the time might have been Final Fantasy. So whatever Final Fantasy was doing, they could have implemented. They just chose not to.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me wonder what else they wanted to implement or they changed.
The walk run speed in this game, I didn't have an issue with it, but I had a distinct impression that whenever you were running, the encounters were happening a little more often. I thought it was just me, but no, that's a design. That's by design. That really does happen. Like they added
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they added a run button, but they made it so that when you're dashing, the encounter increases a little. It feels more than a little for me, but that's what
that's interesting. I didn't find the encounter rate that bad, by the way. I thought it was fine.
sometimes I thought it was a little too much, but it seems to vary by area because some areas have more. This is something I learned by making games in RPG Maker, but I feel like in some, the basic way encounters work in RPG is that if you have more encounter types, the encounter rate is going to be indirectly affected. Like it's going to happen more often. If you have less enemy groups in the area, it's easier to control. The last thing is just that, there are some aspects of the game that were added based on fan feedback from the previous games. Like they would directly ask fans to send them some suggestions. The walk speed is based on that. And the fishing minigame, like the fishes, the name for fishes and name of a bunch of the items in the game were based on fan feedback. It doesn't look that way. And I think that's because the localization completely ignored it. The fish names look all ordinary. Like they look like normal fish names for the most part. But supposedly in the Japanese, they were based on funny or weird names that fans asked for. And we may never know unless we read Japanese and do some more research about this. Same for the islands. For the islands, I'm not too sure because there are many. But there's... so I know that, okay, here's another case of localization ruining an original vision. In this case. Yeah, I think that's all I got for the gameplay. We can probably move on.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on to the presentation, which would be starting with graphics. The graphical presentation of this game. Lucas, how do you think this game looked?
I still think it aged fine for the most part. Like, the 3D aspects, maybe not so much, but the sprites are fantastic. I still think they're ahead of a lot of other games that do something I say for most Capcom games at the time. They do some pixel art and animation that still I think anyone could be impressed by, especially if they are really into trying to get into pixel art. Like not to dismiss the work that a lot of indie developers, I focus on that because they're usually the ones who go with pixel art these days, but into their games. But you don't see anything comparable often. Like from the top of my head, there aren't that many. So thanks to the decision of going with this style where it's not fully 2D, you really don't look that much into the 3D of the game because the characters and enemies, they steal the spotlight. I think that helps the presentation age really well. For the animation in some of the enemy and bosses, it feels so good that I thought that maybe there was some overlap there with the staff of Darkstalkers. There isn't, but it's kind of hard to analyze that sort of stuff because when you look at the staff, there's going to be at least six different people working on the animations and pixel art. Understandably so. One person can't do all this by themselves. That's why they moved on from doing this and went to 3D. But this game, if you were listening to this, you've seen the graphics of the game. You know how Square keeps like selling this idea of like 2D HD, like it's novel.
Yeah.
This is the precursor to that.
Sure.
It's not HD, but it doesn't matter. The concept is pretty much the same. You have sprites in a 3D environment. The only difference is that the 3D didn't age as well because it's PlayStation 1 3D. But if this game was made today, it would be pretty much the same thing. It's like
HD,
hand-drawn sprites with pretty 3D graphics. I don't know if it will look as good, to be honest, because I like the way this looks more than something like the Star Ocean remakes. Because the 3D is too abstract, it looks more fitting for the sprites walking on top of the scenario.
I think I would like to say this is peak 2D pixel art for the era, but that's not true because Breath of Fire 4 exists. And Breath of Fire 4 is just SNK, that them too. But definitely for the PlayStation, this is one of the best examples of 2D sprite work that you can find. It's a really good looking game if you love your 2D sprites. It looks great. I think the character designs are great. Very still sort of cartoony, and I think it's more cartoonish than a Breath of Fire 4, for example, which is more, I mean, they're both anime, but this one is much more brighter. It's much more colorful. And if you're into that, you got it. I don't think that the 3D aged poorly. I think it's fine for the setting and how it's utilized. And maybe that's because I'm playing it on a PlayStation 2 and they have the smoothing. I did notice when I turned the smoothing off, it didn't look nearly as good. But I think overall, like for the era that it was, the 3D was fine. The setting was fine, especially because you were doing sprites with 3D work. I think it's comparable to Grandia. I'd have to go back and play Grandia again. I think the 3D looks a little bit better than Grandia's 3D. I think Grandia was right around the same time or a little earlier, though. And it was also on the Saturn.
Yeah, because it was on Saturn.
Yeah. But overall, I think the game looks really good. I think it's aged very well. This could be definitely something that someone could pick up today and not mind.
This is no Vampire Savior in terms of animations, but it's still...
No.
There is a lot of detail to the character animations. It just, I can't stress this enough. Like, I think if you could probably Google and find examples of the character frames. There is a lot in there that you don't even realize that exists, but it's still being used because they really want to make the animations as fluid as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And I even like details like just the characters have idle animations in the field that change. Oh, that's something I really like. Is just with Ryu specifically. As a kid, this is based on where you are in the story. His animation changes when you're at the start.
During battle, the beginning of battle. Yeah, that's so cool.
Oh, that as well. But I mean, like even the field outside the battles, like when he's alone, right after the situation with when he splits from Ray and Tipo, his animation involves him crying.
Mm-hmm.
When he helps Nina and gets a little more brave, his animation changes to eating an apple instead. He doesn't cry anymore. That's how. There is also the battle like animation where he doesn't really even know how to use a sword when he's doing his attack animation at first. Mm-hmm. Then he actually uses it more properly after he gets over being a crybaby. Those I always appreciate those small details because like I have to draw another comparison with the Square Enix game just because Octopath Traveler. Because like it's I feel like it's why is this game from 1998 doing this and you're making a game that's supposed to call back to that era and you can put this amount of detail, which is just those games, they usually don't have much animation going for this price, but here's this game from 98 where you have details that players are probably not even gonna notice they're there until they think back about it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I noticed it while playing through it because I was like, Ryu's battle animation keeps changing.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. You don't see that a lot. I mean, then again, I haven't played a lot of modern indie games, so there's that. I haven't played Octopath Traveler yet either. So let's go to the music and talk about the music here. I'll say that I think the music as a standalone product is good. I don't think it always fits the mood or the feeling that this game is really trying to put out through its gameplay and graphical presentation. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that by and large, it's a little bit of an odd couple. Like it's not like the worst mixture, but like I look at some of the reviews or the synopsis of the reviews from when this game came out, and I'm not that negative on it. Like people are like, "Oh, this is like the music's bad, it's terrible." I'm not there. Like that's not my perspective here. I think it's fine. I just don't think it's always the most fitting, and there were definitely RPGs during this time where the music married up with the game a lot better. I'll put it that way. But I do think the second Overworld track, I love that. I think it's a really good track. But overall, it's music and sound is fine. There's no voice acting, by the way. That's not happening. You hear them make sounds when they attack, but that's the extent of it. And I guess that's okay. And all the other sounds sound fine to me. I didn't really notice anything that I can comment on. So what did you think, Lucas?
Well, I think I have a completely different perspective on this.
Okay.
First, I was shocked to find out that people hated this soundtrack. I mean, on one hand, I can understand like it's very different from how other games were doing, and it's especially different from how Breath of Fire was doing. But like on the other hand, it's if you listen to Capcom soundtracks at the time, like for across the other games, I'd say it's by complete coincidence now that I've read about the composers. By some strange coincidence, a lot of Capcom games had very jazzy soundtracks. Like Darkstalkers had, and Street Fighter Alpha. I guess a little more varied than that, but there's some there as well. Especially towards the later PlayStation era soundtracks, that they tend to use jazz a lot. Even Mega Man Legends. So it's like it's a little weird that people would react negatively about it, but as an RPG, it does feel a little more disconnected because with RPGs you expect something more epic or orchestral, or maybe even cinematic, and there isn't much of that here.
No.
The composers, well, there are two composers for this. I looked them up. I couldn't find much about the other composer, but one of them, Akari Kaida, her explanation for using the soundtrack the way it is just, it was specifically because she wanted the game to distance itself from how RPGs usually have classic style music. And she also happened to really like jazz, especially like Bill Evans and Glenn Miller, which she said were the main inspirations. And funny, I don't know if funny enough, but it wasn't just players who felt a little weird about the soundtrack, like wasn't too happy with it, at least not at first. The director and like other like lead figures in the staff, they were very resistant to the soundtrack that she was making. But it ended up in the game anyway because she made the music even though they were opposed to it, and made them listen to it and get used to it, which supposedly created I don't know if it was flat out a hostile environment. She said the circumstances during her work there weren't great, and she regrets doing the way she did. But so I can imagine that it was a little more a rebellious way of handling it.
I think it does deserve some criticism to sounding too similar to Chrono Trigger, though, and more than one track.
Oh my god. The forest theme for sure. Like I remember,
there was another theme. There was two themes. I'm like, this is Chrono Trigger.
Which is the other one? Because I know the forest one. The forest one, I
can't remember the second one. Yeah, the forest one is notorious. That's I can't remember. There was like another track. I'm like, this is Chrono Trigger. Like there's another. I'm like, oh my god.
We can't really blame her necessarily because there's the other thing about the soundtrack that it's not explained who. I mean, she cites a few tracks that she worked on, but the way they worked was very much like just make the tracks and then we decide later where they will fit, which is how they worked on it. The only exception, I think, was the ending theme, which they worked together from the start. The vocals are the composers themselves. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
I tried looking up where else they worked on. Akari Kaida, she worked on Earth Defense Force games. Not all of them, but I think the latest ones.
Oh, nice.
She also worked on Tekken 8, Phantasy Star Line 2, New Genesis. And she's one of the 4 that are working on Penny Blood. I think Nobuo Uematsu is another one of them.
Hopefully that game comes out.
Yeah, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't have a... It still doesn't have a
the story with that game as of right now is like a mess. Apparently, like the people who said they were going to help them publish it embezzled all their money and got like involved in the mafia or something. That Penny Blood's a disaster.
Okay.
It's like it's a disaster in terms of the funding. Like they the publisher literally stole the money from the team.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's really bad. Anything else to say about the sound?
The other composer, they worked on. I think they stick with Capcom more compared to Kaida. I think I'm not surprised that Kaida moved away from Breath of Fire immediately after because they were probably not parting amicable terms after how she handled the soundtrack. But Yoshino Aoki, the other composer, they stayed for Breath of Fire 4, but they also worked on the Mega Man Battle Network games, a lot of them, and Star Force as well. Also worked on Final Fantasy 15. Not the only composers for the game, but they worked on most of the 15 adjacent games. Ultimate is excellent, and Resident Evil 4 Remake more recently.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
As for the voice acting, they were originally planning to have more of it. Because there's something that we're really excited about. Because, okay, it's CD, so let's do this. I mean, the limitations are off, and CDs have some better audio quality. But one of the reasons they opted not to was that they were concerned with there's some nitpicks, like personal nitpicks for them. Like the director, he felt really bothered when characters like in video games would exclaim things like, cool, we did it, and that sort of stuff. He thought he was, in his words, at least the translated words, cringe. So he didn't want to have that. And they were concerned with Ryu talking because they wanted the player to be able to immerse themselves into Ryu, like feel like they are the hero. But on the other hand, once the game was done, they were also concerned that by Ryu not talking, not even in text form, he came across as a sociopath during some of the dialogue. It's like there were horrible things happening in front of him, and he had no reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a regret they had. But ultimately, even when they opted not to have voices, they crammed some for the battles exclusively.
Yes.
But at some point, they wanted to have voices for the other characters.
Now, I do, I think that would wrap up sound, but I do want to get back because I said I would mention it at the beginning of the show, and I didn't mention it during the graphical presentation. Just a quick mention here. It is a little interesting to me, or I think it's cool, actually, that this is a game that doesn't have any full motion video in order to get its graphical presentation across. And this is the era where full motion video was in vogue. It is why Final Fantasy VII was a big game. And this goes back to that N64 discussion, when you're like, well, why couldn't we get it on the N64? And one of the biggest reasons that developers didn't want to go on the N64 was, of course, for those space limitations. But one of the things that took up so much space was full motion CGI video.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't have any of that on Breath of Fire 3, at least that I could tell. So that brings up that question of, why are they on PlayStation and why aren't they on the N64? Because I think they could have done it if they really wanted to. But there's probably some other limitations that were preventing it, like the voice acting, maybe the musical quality, stuff like that. That would have impacted it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because one of the main things we'd expect to justify going to PlayStation is the voice acting, because that takes a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of what this game does isn't really something that you couldn't see in the Nintendo 64. Like the audio quality is better for being on CD, but I don't think the size of the game, I haven't really looked at file sizes, but in terms of size of the play time, isn't really something that I think it couldn't be done on a cartridge. As for the lack of FMV, I think it was just lack of ambition. Because when reading about how the staff think, what the thought process of the staff was, they were extremely conservative in terms of how to design games. They said that in the interviews where they would pick things to add in the game just because, well, RPGs have to have this stuff, so we're including it. Including the mini games. That was their justification for things, which I thought was pretty disappointing, to be honest. This speaks of a lack of ambition. That's probably why some of those more those things they would expect to see in a PlayStation RPG weren't really there.
Mm-hmm.
I also forgot to talk about this.
Oh yeah, so Lucas has an art book from Breath of Fire. It's a compilation. It's from the entire series, correct?
Yeah, it came out, I think, shortly after or during the release of the fifth game. It even tries to focus more on the fifth game, because if you look at the pages, there's a little from every game. But 5 definitely has the bulk of it. I think these are from 5. It's kind of hard to.
Okay, yeah.
When you look at the other ones, especially the first 2, there is very little. It's usually Ryu and Nina. It sometimes shows the other characters, but you don't really see the detail, step by step, a little more details on the concept art. And just how the characters came to be. Yeah, it's one of the few art books I have, just because like I said earlier, I really like the character design in the series. There isn't anything like it. I wish there was more for the individual games, but it unfortunately feels a little more like a promotional material for 5 more than anything. But at least it exists if you're interested in seeing a little more about the art outside of the game. I don't think it's hard to find. It's called Breath of Fire Official Complete Works, and I think it's the only sort of art book tied to the series that there is.
So yeah, go check that out. If you like the art of Breath of Fire, I got to see some of it. Go take a look at that book. It's available. Maybe is it still affordable?
It should be. I didn't check it again, but when I bought it, it was already old, and I think I paid equivalent to like $20 or less.
Okay. So yeah, go check that out, people. Anyway, let's get into what our patrons think about the game today before we wrap this episode up with our patron pontifications. And what are some pontifications? What are they? Well, if you want to provide that, just join our Discord. First of all, that's free. You can go ahead and join the Discord for free. But if you're a patron, which is $1 a month, you head to our Linktree, linktr.ee/retrohangover or patreon.com/retrohangover and join for $1 a month. And you're in our Discord. You can provide some pontifications for the episode that we're about to go over presently, or you can just provide them in Patreon because we do have one from there this week as well. So I will be starting this out with Alt, who says, I'm conflicted with Breath of Fire 3, the text box animation with fading text, despite turning the text speed to fast, pisses me off. While I love the battles appear anywhere idea, getting into the fights does take longer than I'd have liked. I can't say it's longer or shorter than other PlayStation 1 JRPGs because Final Fantasy IX had notoriously long battle transitions and a black cut in cut out screen. Maybe it feels longer because there's no cut to expect the loading. I remember seeing the box art back in the day and completely ignoring this game. I don't know why Capcom butchered their releases with bad box art. It was a sword with fire. Oof. I genuinely hate this game's story. It feels like they took the phrase, it's about the journey, not the destination, way too much to heart. The journey was boring, and most of the time it was trying to find a fucking boat. That is true. I'm off to find Noah's fucking Ark to go fuck God in the ass with a banana strapped equipped to Gar because he had a change of goddamn heart after killing Ryu. I would argue that. Kind of. Fuck, dude, like the mayor's story is where I thought the child arc would end. Nope, it just keeps fucking going. Holy slog test. Finally, the scaling, the power level or growth, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely pitiful. I saved 2,500 Zenny for this cool ass sword for child Ryu. Dope. I had 0 goddamn agility. I'm the slowest motherfucker on the planet. I get it. Maybe a child shouldn't be swinging around the Buster Sword like it's made out of a cork. But holy shit game. Agara is also slow. Even with his final weapon, he's slow. And that final weapon only available if you don't exit a room and expect a dead body if you leave that room. Gone. Messables suck, dude. I swear I didn't completely hate this game, but it's so goddamn slow. A lot of cool ideas, but executed horribly. You gave me a dragon transformation parts with the description of 3 question marks. Sigh. Wow, Alt, I can tell that you had thoughts about this game. Some of which I agree with, some of which I'm just like, you had a lot to say.
It touches on the loading thing that we discussed. He was onto something.
Which part? There's so much there.
Just the loading times. So like.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, yes. I don't know. It didn't bother me at all. Also, my PlayStation 2 had the ability to shorten loading times. They may have done something. I don't know. Didn't try it without it.
This is from Cottage. I purchased it at launch and was enamored by the experience at the time. As an adolescent in the late 90s, having such an aesthetically pleasing JRPG was more than enough charm to me. Add to that a relatively challenging narrative and moderately rich gameplay, as well as excellent fishing minigame. I've never played it, but I still look on it fondly. And though the memory of it all has been completely faded, a community like this one has ensured the charm days gone by burns brightly still. Yeah, I think we had our grievances, but overall, I don't think Cottage said anything here I necessarily disagree with. Yeah. Also, they were the guests in the episode, weren't they? The Rapid Fire, now I think about it. Weren't they? The 5 years ago?
I didn't have it guessed.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn.
No, they talked about it on Growing Up Gaming Mormon.
Oh, right. That's true. Yeah, I was confused.
Because Kadja said, and our next commenter here had a lot to say that it really resonated with them. And I asked if it had something to do with Mormonism. They said it does, but they couldn't quantify it at the time. I want to pick their brain more about that. Maybe one day I'll find out about it. And the next comment is from Cade, who's from Gaming Memories, mostly on the Instagrams and the YouTubes, I think. But he's also a podcast. Hasn't done a podcast in a while, though. Anyway, what does Cade have to say? He put it in a very broken manner on Discord, so bear with me. I had to it's going to be interesting to piece together. Cade says, play on emulator, map, game, speed, toggle to trigger. Half your problem solved. Of course, from the modern day perspective, the speed of an old PS1 game is going to feel sloggy. Most of them do. The vast majority of PS1 titles are slow. Can also run at 110% speed and the audio doesn't change much. Finding the boat is easy for... Oh, he's responding to people. Finding the boat is easy if you're paying attention. Crossing the desert, however, that's some BS design. I'll grant that. Also, Generations top enemy sprite designs across all consoles. Charming world map. Gar's Change of Heart was badass and totally earned. Plus, Miria is a great end boss if you like Xenogears style themes and reveals. Tipo reveal fight is a great payoff as well. I disagree with you there, Cade. One of the best fishing mini games from the era. Also, don't buy shitty weapons. It's an RPG. Expensive doesn't always mean the best. There's a hole there to dig. I'm leaving it alone. This is true for our gajillion RPGs. It's not unheard of by any stretch of the means. Yeah, missables suck. I guarantee some of your favorite RPGs have missables. He's just responding. He's tearing. He's talking directly to Alt. Kind of like complaining rap sucks because of the rhyming. It's par for the course. Learn the system stats games and your party won't be slow or weak. Also, this is fun shit talking. Don't get offended. You're wrong. If it happens to the best of us.
I agree with him on the missables. It's not really... I don't hate missables, especially in this game. It feels inconsequential. I didn't even use Guard's Ultimate, even though I had it.
I had it. I used it. I thought it was fine.
Because there is a punishment for using it. I don't remember what it was.
You lose hit points at the end of your turn.
Yeah, I didn't like that, so I just used the second best thing. But
yeah.
This one's from Matt Stormageddon from Fun Games Podcast and Reunited Podcast. I love this game, but I also have not revisited it for a full playthrough since it first came out. But I had fond memories of the cast, story, that twist, gameplay, and soundtrack. Ray is an all-time favorite character who also inspired one of my first D&D characters who was also a rare tiger. I do hope to replay it sometime soon, but it definitely has a special place in my heart. It's also the only game this series I've ever played. I do plan to play the fourth one now that it's on Steam. Oh, that's true, it is, but play on GOG. Trust me, play on GOG and not on Steam.
Yeah, I have it for GOG. I think I have it for both, but I only play it on GOG. Next is from Lethco from the Afterglow podcast. And Lethco says, didn't like the first game, really enjoyed the second. Then I kind of just never played anything else in the series. All right, thank you, Lethco.
This one is from Randall from our Discord community. I have no history with this game. Was happy to see y'all were going to review it because it was unknown to me. Thank you, Randall.
All right, and lastly, it's going to be from Brian, aka Captain N from the Retrotopia podcast, who provided this comment on Patreon. Thank you, Brian. And Brian says, I am on the record as to not liking the first two in this franchise, and rightfully so. However, something keeps me coming back. I have a copy and will play Breath of Fire 3 in the near future. It's a great premise that has thus far tripped over its own ambition. With any luck, this third game won't have me going from start to point 1, back to start to point 2, back to start to point 3. To Mysterious Cave, I passed 3 times already, back to start to point 5, back to start, build town to point 6. In summary, well, he'll love Rapala. In summary, Breath of Fire is a Capcom RPG that should have been on the level of Final Fantasy Dragon Quest. They had a yo-yo write the script, which is why it's flat. Okay. What? Also, get some new characters. How many times can I find Ryu and a black-winged Nina? Sometimes it feels like they're trying to rewrite the story to get it right this time. Now on to Dragon Quarter for you lot. A lot to unpack there, Captain N. Clearly, your mind is in different places. All right. But thank you. I mean, he makes some good points. Rapala is going to be a nightmare for him if he ever plays.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you play 2 and hate it, I would be surprised if you like the other 2. Even if you're someone who thinks that 2 isn't the best one, they share some of the same flaws.
Okay, well, thank you, patrons. And once again, if you want me to read your comment, obviously you hear that we're going to read the entirety of it because we read everything Alt wrote. But it's all there. So we will read the entirety of it. You just got to follow those instructions because we're still doing it for now. Hopefully one day we'll become big enough where we can get rid of a few of them, but we're not there yet. So now it's my and Lucas's turn to let everyone know whether or not we think this game holds up today, as tradition dictates, as we are wont to do. I'm going to go first, and then I will turn it over to Lucas for the final word. So, does Breath of Fire 3 hold up today? I'm going to go and give it, I have to say no. The biggest problem with that is not that the payoff isn't there. I think it's worth it. I think overall it's a solid game, but I think it will take too long for most people to get into. I think that, and it's like, I understand a frustration when people hear, bro, it's good. You just got to put 20 hours into it. No, you need to have a hook. You need to have a hook. Breath of Fire 3 doesn't really have a hook. And for me, it took 25 hours for the game to get its hook into me. And then I was like, oh, wow, this wrapped up really well. But if I look at the total package, it falls short. And one of the barometers I really have to think is when it holds up today, like, what are we talking about? Like, going back, if you're going to play games from that era, what are you going to do? I really think there's a lot more better options for than Breath of Fire 3 in a contemporary form. And even before that and a little after. So especially Breath of Fire 4. You want to really see the series at its peak, I think, is Breath of Fire 4. I've heard a lot of good things about 2, and I liked 1. And I'm not saying I didn't like this game. I did like this game. But it's hard for me to recommend just because of how long it will take the average player to really get into this game, assuming they ever do. So I'm going to go, yeah, I hate to say it because this is a game from my childhood, and I've always been looking forward to talk about this game. I'd have to go back and listen to the rapid fire review. I think I made one. That I swear I made. Maybe there's a Mandela effect here, and see what I thought then. But this is just a game that it made me wanting to play another better. Yes, it made me wanting to feel like I wanted to play another better game almost constantly. That's not a good sign. Lucas, what'd you think? Does it hold up today? Not what'd you think? You're giving me the definitive word. What do we got?
I'm probably not going to be as brief, but first to answer the question, no. It takes a very specific kind of person. Like, are you a furry? Do you like Bara? Then there's some reason for you to play this. At least get to the halfway point and quit. Mm-hmm. You've seen what you need to see. But other than that, no, it's difficult to recommend this. I'd like to, because the game explores certain themes that don't get explored enough, at least not with the same reverence that it does. But I don't think it's worth like going through all the hassle. It just the pacing kills it at times. Like it's the kind of pacing that was only excusable at the time, and maybe because even at the time the games were already better paced. Like it has the pacing like a I don't know, 80s JRPG almost.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's a little behind the times in terms of pacing, and the encounter rate is not that high, but it's always difficult for me to straight up recommend games with random encounters these days, depending on how high. If it's not low enough, it's not something you can adjust. Because I feel like more and more I notice people don't have patience for that if they didn't grow up playing those games. It's a game that it's one of those games that it's weird. Like some of the games are the most special to me are not necessarily the games I think are the best. Like this, I'd put this along with Legend of Mana for me. Like I should have mentioned this in the customer experiences. Yeah, I was actually debating between this and Legend of Mana when nominated. And yeah, they're special for the same reasons. Like it has nothing to do with the gameplay. It has to do with the set. Like I think those are some of the games that nail the kind of high fantasy setting that I expect from a more vibrant Japanese game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I would really like to recommend it, but I can't. Because if I do, you're probably going to start it. And I think the initial hook with the intro with Dragon Ryu is interesting. But then it falls off a cliff because it gets extremely mundane. And you might lose players right there. I don't know. I really cannot recommend it to people who are ultra patient. And even then, there are better games. Even though the PlayStation definitely had better games. And if you need to play Breath of Fire, if you want to get started in the series, play this game after you've done with 4 and you know it, and you ended up liking it. Even after 2, maybe 2 has some problems that they're not going to get into it. But
right.
Yeah, not play 4 if you like it. Play 3. Otherwise, I think you're not going to have patience for this.
All right, so that concludes it. That's 2 no's from myself and from our guest Lucas today. Not that we didn't have good things to say about Breath of Fire 3, but hey, look, what did you think about Breath of Fire 3, listener? Did you enjoy it? Are we missing something? Are we wrong here? Let us know if you can join our Discord for free. That's something you could do. And of course, our patrons already let us know what they thought. But yeah, Breath of Fire 3 does not stand the test of time, unfortunately. Or just, yeah, gotta know. But thank you, Lucas, for bringing your perspective to Breath of Fire 3. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sometimes I worry that maybe someone more passionate about the game, someone who is a little more fun of it, like throughout, would have been a better choice. But yeah, then thanks for picking me over those people, I guess.
Well, they don't know. They don't know that who's nominating it. There's that too.
Yeah.
So they just see the game. I mean, you're a patron. But speaking of you, that was an interesting segue. How about you let the people know where they can find your stuff on the internet, or where you want them to find you?
I am one of the hosts of, one of the producers for Game Over Hell. It's a YouTube channel where we make game reviews. It's pretty whatever in terms of what we pick to review. We don't focus on only new releases because we don't have the money for that. So a lot of it tends to be retro or indie games. It's me and Soha, who is another member of the community. We are kind of slow this year because life problems and other responsibilities. Like we don't make money off the channel, so we can't really prioritize over what makes money. But there's going to be more videos soon. We did post our personal top 5 from last year, basically top 5 games we played last year, not necessarily games that came out that year. And we have a review of an upcoming game coming. It's a first for our channel, and there will be more Final Fantasy reviews. I've been focusing more on that, like since let's say 2 years ago, like doing retrospectives of Final Fantasy games. So expect more of that. Even on Blue Sky as well. It's mostly me using the account, but we are there usually just to post updates regarding the uploads for the channel. And I'm trying to get back on Twitch streaming as Game Over Hell as well. And I don't have a schedule. It happens when it happens. I hope I can get to do it more regularly after the channel is back on track with the upload schedules.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. So go check out Game Over Hell on YouTube. Join the Discord community. You can talk directly to Lucas there, as well as Soha, who is named after Fusoya in our Final Fantasy IV playthrough, as recommended by Lucas. We recommended it apparently because of Fusoya's hairstyle.
Oh, that's true. They're both balding.
All right, and if you're listening to us, that probably means you know where to find us, unless you were linked to the show. Otherwise, if you want to find out where you can find us, well, first of all, before I say that, hello, welcome to the show. We appreciate that you're here. If you want to know where all their socials are, go to linktr.ee/retrohangover. We are also on Blue Sky. And because that's not the links. We're also at twitch.tv/retrohangover and YouTube, youtube.com/retrohangover, I think. And I'm just randomly streaming, but we'll be making a big effort to stream the Final Fantasy V 4-Job Fiesta. I'm going to do everything I can to get a charity going for that. Charity link, I don't have that at the moment, so I can't list it off. I'll see if I can get it in the show notes, so check for that there. If not, you can find it. It's going to be easy to find. So hope to see you joining that charity stream. If you don't donate, would love to have you there, but that's the extent of what we have today. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Lucas, for being part of the show. And until next time, play with your Let's Go and Kill God joysticks. Couldn't be more appropriate this time. Bye.
Shane here with a quick message. You know, the one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in head first with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.